Don't repeat. No.
Oh, man.
So they're not here? Over here?
The notice requirement provided for the open public meeting law has been satisfied. Notice was properly given, notice having been transmitted to the Courier News on Friday, January 6, 2023, as well as posting on the city website. Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Council members Graham. Good.
Present.
Hockaday.
Present.
McKenna.
Present.
Wyatt. Present. Vice President Briggs Jones. Present. Council President McCray.
Present.
We have all members present and a quorum.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the indications. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Humbly we ask God, the giver of peace and the lover of charity, to give the entire family of nations true agreement with his will, and to grant the light of his spirit on all those who work for justice and peace. Amen. Amen.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of March 13, 2023?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have allotted 5 minutes for Ms. Nancy Petwa to make a presentation about Corporal Earl Morgan. Ms. Nancy Petwa?
Good evening, Council President Craig, Council Mayor, City Administration, and City residents. A few of my board members are here from the Historical Society of Plainfield, and they're also in attendance. I thank you, and I appreciate you acknowledging my extraordinary request. In a few moments, you will understand why. I am humbled and honored to be the messenger to bring this story to all of you of a young man, Corporal Earl Morgan, who lived on the block across from the Drake House. He attended the Plainfield Public Schools, went to war, and never returned. In this book, Corporal Morgan's war journey is told. The American Cemetery and Memorial in Mongraten, the Netherlands, is the final resting place of over 8,300 American soldiers, men and women, and there is a wall of the missing that contains over 1,700 names. The community of Mongraten has adopted the soldiers' graves and have cared for them for over 70 years. The Fields of Honor Foundation and three men, Jory Vidic, Sebastian Vonk, Ari Jan Van Hees, researched and wrote Corporal Morgan's account and all the others in this book. They wanted to give faces to the men and women whose lives were taken. Corporal Morgan and the other soldiers liberated the people and the country of the Netherlands in World War II. Corporal Morgan's narrative is one of 250 accounts in this book, The Faces of Mongraten, and they will remain forever young. His portrait is also in the short online video about the remembrance of this project. The Historical Society purchased the book, and the library told me today that they just received one too. This is the first edition printed in English. There have been 3 editions printed in Dutch. I would like to share with you and read into the public record Corporal Earl Morgan's journey from Plainfield. He was a hero who walked among us. Corporal Morgan, the people of Mongraten, the Netherlands, have not forgotten you, and now the people of Plainfield know you and your family's story and sacrifice. On page 171, you'll see I gave you copies of his page. Earl Morgan, Corporal, 784th Tank Battalion, African-American soldier, was killed inside his tank. Corporal Earl Morgan from New Jersey was born in 1922. He lived in Plainfield and grew up with 4 brothers and 1 sister. Earl was educated at the local Plainfield High School and entered the Army in 1943. 2 of his brothers, Daniel and Frederick, also served in the military during the war. After his enlistment, Earl was stationed and trained in Army camps of Mississippi and Texas. Because he was an African American, he probably did not feel too comfortable in these 2 southern states. After all, racial segregation and discrimination against Black Americans was most prevalent in the southern United States at the time. After this training period, Earl was sent to New York to embark to England. Earl arrived in Europe in November of 1944. He served in Company A of the 784th Tank Battalion, a segregated tank unit that consisted entirely of African Americans. Only the senior officers in charge were white. Along with 4 comrades, Earl went to fight in a Sherman tank. On February 27, 1945, Earl was killed in action at Wassenberg, Germany. His body was taken to 110th Clearing Station, but unfortunately, his hospital administration card does not tell us anything about the nature of his injuries or cause of death. However, a book on his battalion describes that Earl's unit encountered 3 deadly anti-tank guns that destroyed the 7th 84th tank. Furthermore, it claims that Corporal Earl Morgan perished inside the blazing tank. The fact that on February 27th, 1 able tank was lost during an encounter with enemy anti-tank guns is also briefly described in the battalion's after-action report. Although no names of enlisted men are mentioned in this description, it is likely that this excerpt from the report refers to Earl and the tank he was in. However, the report says nothing about the number of German and anti-tank guns encountered and whether or not the lost tank had caught fire. Earl was just 22 years old when he died. A few weeks later, his parents were informed, and an obituary was published in the local newspaper, the Courier News. In Mongraten, Earl is buried in Plot G, Row 15, Grave 18. The picture that you all have is the picture that appeared in the Courier News. He did attend Whittier Franklin Whittier School. He went to Washington School. He went to Hubbard School. He never graduated. He was supposed to be in the class in 1941. And I saw Ronnie Taylor here. He boxed in the very first boxing expedition for the Recreation Commission. And I just wanted to bring this story forward. I received a letter that you all have at the Drake House, and it started me down the path to research him. And we're currently looking for his family in Plainfield. His parents are buried in Hillside Cemetery, and it's a very sad story. His father died in 1948. His mother died in 1951. And in both of their obituaries, they never mentioned him because I believe they thought he was going to come home, and he never did. I've talked to Hillside Cemetery. If we can find a family member, they're willing to put a memorial stone on the mother and father's grave. I already have somebody who's donated the money for the foundation of the memorial stone. So if anybody knows any of the Morgans still living in Plainfield, myself and Nancy went to school with one of his nephews, but he's now deceased. So if anybody knows one of the Morgans, can they please reach out to me at the Drake House, and we'll begin the process of getting him a memorial stone. And I appreciate your indulgence. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy Pequot, for that enlightening story. We will now have a presentation on the Rushmore Phase 2 recreation completion.
Yes, can members of Remington and Bernie come forward, please? And this relates to Resolution R15823. You just state your name.
Derek Dory, Remington Furnick Engineers.
Paul Craig, Remington Furnick Engineers.
This application is for the demolition and replacement of the existing pool over for Rushmore. The installation consists of a 25-yard pool. There's a gazebo at the entrance with a sliding board as well. Within the pool, there's a seating area. There's lanes for racing. There's a new building to be proposed for mechanical equipment, locker rooms, mechanical equipment, locker rooms, storage. Existing play area is a wet spray area for all age children. There's a new walkway. There's site amenities around the pool for rest and relaxation and putting up tables and everything. Number 5, there's a seating area where you can have your family picnic area. And this is the 4th stage of reconstruction for this pool, for this area, for this park. The park, phase 1, we did the,
You can
It's okay.
stand.
If you want to take the mic,
Mike can come stand.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm struggling to see. Sorry. So, the first is the pool, is the 25-yard competition pool with the flume suite right here. The shade structure as well. There's a seating area for people who come to the events, maybe to watch the actual swimming laps and the competition. There's also stairs and a seating area in the pool if no one not wants to swim, but to just sit, relax, and be cool. There's a patio area with furniture. The furniture is going to be provided by the town and will be stored in the building number 4 here. Number 5 is the picnic pavilion, what I discussed earlier. And this large play area, it's a large space. It's going to be one of the nicest and biggest water spray areas for kids of all ages. And like I said, this is one of the 4 phases of the completion of work that we've done in this park already. We've done the playfield ground. We did the basketball courts. and some other stuff. So this is pretty much the final stage of reconstruction for this park. Any questions?
Are you finished? Are you finished?
Yes.
Councilman Hockaday?
Question, just a comment. I'm sure it'll be a welcome addition to all the upgrades that are happening over at Rushmore. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Councilman Wyatt?
Yes, I would like to just thank you for this work here. Question, when do we expect this to be done? What's the estimated time?
The estimated time is, once we get past this stage, we're going to go into full design. Once we get into the design aspect, we're going to start probably with demolition and then the whole permit process and finishing up the design. I have a time frame in here specifically. Excuse me, because my notes just kind of got rattled, and I apologize for that. So the finished project design will be in July 2023. Final big package out on August 23rd, and advertised for bids August 23rd, and September, and construction to start September 23rd. Basically, we're trying to get the park open before next summer.
B.A. Levinson, can you?
Yeah, Council President, can I just add something? So we're going to be starting construction this summer, which is why you'll see that the pool will be closed this summer, because the project will be starting, we'll have shovels in the ground. And so this will be opened hopefully for, hope we're looking towards early 2025. But we're starting this summer, which is why you'll notice that the pool is going to be closed. We're only going to have the other pools open this summer so that we can get started as soon as possible. Now that the weather is nice, we'll be going for it.
Okay, so we're looking at
Councilman
May
McKenna.
2025, you said?
Early 2025, as soon as it's warm enough to cut the ribbon.
Okay, and just one more
Well, we're going for
question.
24, not 25. This is 2023. Yeah.
So which one is it, 24 or 25?
My understanding of the project is that it'll be ready for spring of 25.
And last question, because we did not receive this in our packet, do we have this electronically? Because we were trying to see, I can see that, was listening to the concept. I know it's great, but I can't really see it. So do we have this electronically where that can be disseminated to the council?
Director Danny?
Yes, I'll follow with Remington Burning to see what they have that can be available, made available to the council.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman McKenna?
Yes, I'm curious if this is a 2025 project, and by the way, it's lovely. I hope the final designs look just like these images. But if this is a 2025 project, why would we close the pool this year? If you're you're putting bids out in August, design done in August, bids out in August, hopefully accepted and start construction in September. There's your pool season this year. Why are we closing it this year?
I understand what you said, but I've had conversations with Remington and Vernick, and they're starting construction this summer.
But do we have a problem between the presentation and what you understand? Because these are like diametrically opposed. Other than this lovely drawing,
No, they're not. I mean, he did say that his notes were scattered. I've met with the contractor. I've met with the engineer multiple times. The project will start this summer.
So when are the bids going out?
I don't have the exact timeline in front of me, but the project is starting this summer. You can drive by and see. You'll be able to see it starting this
I'm
summer.
not concerned about driving by and seeing it. I'm concerned about closing the pool unnecessarily for the kids over there.
The reason that we're starting it this summer is so that the splash pad could possibly be open by next summer and the pool by the spring after that.
Yeah, I'm still confused. The engineer has the timeline, and if bids are going out in August, the kids could be swimming June, July, and August.
It's not the correct timeline.
What-
Wendell
so-
Bibbs is our engineer. He's not here today. I've met with him many times. I know the timeline.
Can you provide me with the timeline? Because you know it. So when are the bids going out?
I'll email you.
No, I'm asking you now because you just said you know the timeline.
Councilman McKenna, please. She says she will
Well,
email
I'm
you.
concerned that we're cutting off
Councilman McKenna.
services for the kids. Why don't we stick to this gentleman's timeline so that they can have the summer
She
to...
is the BA, and this is the
And I'm the
timeline.
councilman, and this is a council
But
meeting.
you're starting an argument.
No, I'm
where it's not
asking for
necessary.
clarity. They had plenty of time to coordinate this,
McKenna,
and we're
he-
getting conflicting information.
The gentleman
Has
as
the wrong
he
info.
said, has misspoken.
Okay, so it'll be closed this summer. Okay.
That's Councilman Graham.
It's a beautiful project. I think it's great, especially for this town. There's no reason why we should have anything less than any other town. So I like the project.
Councilman Good.
I agree with all that has been said. I'm pretty sure that the remaining pools will probably be pretty crowded because the ones that look forward to that particular pool in the fourth ward, they will have to go to another pool. But I agree with Councilman Graham and also my colleagues on the other end. What they said, it's an awesome project, and I look forward to seeing it when it is completed. Thank you so much. Appreciate the presentation. May I say something else too? Because I know this is a presentation, and since Ms. Piwar gave one too, and I always want to say to her, because I probably won't get a chance to say it later, but there's a lot that we know about Plainfield, but we appreciate you because some of the knowledge that we receive, we don't know. So I just wanted to throw that in there too. We appreciate you, Ms. Piwar, for all the information. Thank you, Council President.
Madam Vice President.
No question, just a comment. I don't know if this is on or not. Just a
Press
comment. However, I just want to know, I know it's going to be closed down. Or will there be anywhere for the kids to play at all? Would it be like a area where it'll just be cut off altogether?
mean water
or you
play?
just can't? Well, in other words, like the children will be at the playground, but will there be an area, even though they're going to be fixing and putting a pool in, whenever they do it, can they still play in the
There is still going to be play space in that area. There won't be water play space in
That's
that area.
fine.
And hopefully by next summer, there will be a splash pad ready because that's obviously happens much quicker than a pool.
Okay, all right, that's fine, because I know sometimes you have in areas that kids can't get to other areas to play or go to pools or anything, and I worry about the children that don't have transportation or lack of transportation.
Mayor, would you like to make
Yes,
a comment?
Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity. This is such a major improvement that will provide enhanced recreational opportunities to our kids as well as to all of the people in Plainfield. And so the temporary inconvenience of not having the pool is worth its, investment in gold. And so if kids are not going to be able to use this particular pool this summer, that pales in comparison to the tremendous enhancement that we're making to this Rushmore Recreational Complex and to all that our kids will have in terms of recreational enhancement, and the facilities will be a state-of-the-art facility. When the pool comes back, everyone, not from just Plainfield, but everyone from neighboring towns are going to want to use what we will be placing in this recreation complex. And so we are very comfortable with the fact that there will be a temporary inconvenience because of the enhancement that people will see in this part of our city, which deserve the absolute best, and that's what we will be delivering.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burdick.
Thank you.
Consideration of public hearing, second reading and final passage. We have ordinance MC 2023-03 through MC 2023-08, which scheduled for public reading, hearing, and final passage for the regular meeting as advertised. We now come to public comments limited to resolutions, motions, and ordinances to be introduced on first reading. A total of 30 minutes has been allocated for public comments limited to resolutions and ordinance being considered this evening. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes. If any member of the public would like to call in for public comments, please dial 646-558-8656. Enter the meeting ID 938-3643-9534. Dial *9 to raise and lower your hands. This information can be found on the city website as well as YouTube. The floor is now open.
Before I start speaking, is this regarding the LEAP? Okay, so. Carmen Cedar Powell, 1414 Highland Avenue, Plainfield, New Jersey. Good evening, council members, Mayor Mapp, administration. I speak to you as a resident and a taxpayer here in the great city of Plainfield, New Jersey. Far too often, such as today, complaints and nasty, outrageous comments come before these council meetings directed towards the mayor and his administration. Well, I am here this evening to thank you, Mayor Mapp, Ms. Abby Levinson, David Mincello, and administration for your quick and diligent work regarding resolving the ambulance issue here in the city of Plainfield by negotiating a shared agreement with JFK and now joining with the County of Union in applying for a local efficiency achievement programs implementation grant, also known as LEAP, in the amount of $400,000, so that there will now be 2 ambulances serving the residents in the city of Plainfield. If I'm correct, the Plainfield Rescue Squad served the city with 2 ambulances. And I thank the Plainfield Rescue Squad for their years of service. I have utilized their squad during my 30 or more years while residing in Plainfield and never had a complaint. I am not certain if they will be returning or the status of their business. However, I would have to say we are now better than we were because if I'm correct, Ms. Levinson stated during the February council meeting that she and the mayor worked out shared agreements with JFK River Road and South Plainfield. I was only able to watch the February council meeting virtually. I watched the Father, the Son, and the holier than thou mother of the Virgo family come forth regarding Mrs. Virgo's heart attack and Mr. Virgo not being able to get an ambulance in a timely manner. Actually, according to Mr. Virgo, the rerouted ambulance never showed up. Well, I am certain this administration didn't work towards a remedy when the Virgos came to the council meeting in February. If I'm correct, the mayor and Ms. Livingston stated they found out about the closing of the Plainfield Rescue Squad when the city of Plainfield found out, which would be somewhere close to the end of 2022. And immediately, they and Mr. Mincello worked immediately on resolving this issue. So in less than 2 months, this administration was able to fix the ambulance issue. I thank you.
Seeing no more, I now close public comments. Okay.
One person with their hand up virtually.
Okay, can you?
Number ending in 825. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Yes, this is Mary Bergwinkle, 1785 Sleepy Hollow Lane. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am calling to comment on NC 2023-11. And in 2022, at the April council meeting, the budget was introduced, as I recall. This year, it looks as though council is being asked to vote on exceeding the municipal budget appropriation limits and the cap bank without having to see the budget. At this juncture, why is the budget not being introduced? facilities administration has an idea of the amount of budget increase or decrease 3 months into the calendar year. Property taxes are high in Plainfield, and taxpayers should get as much information about the budget as early as possible. I hope council members will ask questions about this ordinance and the budget. And I hope that the State of City address scheduled for April 14th will address this delay and give an estimation of the expected budget and tax increase if there is one. Thank you.
Any more?
No, that was it.
Seeing no further public comments, I now close public comment. Okay. We have Legislative Body Resolution 13423. Do I have a consensus to add this to the voting meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any objections? Would the business administrator please present her items? Business administrator.
Okay. Thank you, Council President. Okay, we have before you 8 resolutions tonight. The first two speak to granting advice and consent to the appointments that the mayor is putting forward. The first one is for Sebastian Torres Hernandez to serve as a member of the Plainfield Cultural and Heritage Commission. And the second is for, I don't want to butcher this, Giselle Penefiel to serve as a member of the Plainfield Advisory Commission on Hispanic Affairs. After that, we're going back to the LEAP grant. You'll recall that, I'm just going to turn this on. Okay, it's easier. You'll recall that last month I was here with a similar resolution for a LEAP grant, although after conversations with the county, we've determined that since the county is going to be accepting the funds and taking it off of what the expense to us would be, it makes more sense for them to be the lead in our application to the grant. And so this is just rewording the application so that Union County is the lead. And this will allow them to do a Chapter 159 to accept the funds right into their budget rather than us getting the money and then just sending it off to them. It's just a more efficient way to do it. After that, I have a resolution authorizing a professional service contract to Acrisure. They've served as our health insurance broker for many, many years. They do all sorts of things, but most importantly of what they do is they broker our health insurance, both health insurance, disability insurance, all the insurances that we have, they are our broker for. So right now, with obviously the big increase in state health benefits plan, they're working on overdrive trying to see if something could be done for that. Then we have our resolution certifying compliance with the EEOC, enforcement guidance on the consideration of arrest and conviction records and employment decisions under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That's something we do on an annual basis. We then have two resolutions authorizing approval to submit a grant and accept the grant for with the Union County Department of Human Services for the Plainfield Municipal Alliance Program, and that is for our work on drug, alcohol, and tobacco education and awareness. And finally, I have a resolution authorizing approval to submit a grant application in the amount of $5,000 and to accept the grant for from USTA, and this is for our youth and adult tennis lessons as well as adult pickleball that we'll be adding this year.
Councilman Hockaday, any questions?
Just a quick comment. I appreciate the need for Acrisure, as it seems, every few years we're having to search for the best deal and the best value, the best coverage for health insurance for city workers. Are we looking at doing something different in the future than what we have now?
Yeah, what we have now is a big increase that we obviously didn't see coming, that nobody could have predicted. And so what I would like to do with Acrisure once I, if I get their approval, is I would like them to take our claims data and shop it around and see what kind of a rate we could get if we were to move somewhere else.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Councilman Wyatt?
Yes, just a follow-up question on that. So you said they're going to shop around and see what the best rate they can get us?
Yeah, that's what they would do with our claims data.
Did we ever take into consideration doing the MOA with the Board of Education? Because I know that they have a HIF, and I know that you just said that we're facing a big increase, our employees, and they have over 1,500 employees. So I'm just thinking if we was to do an MOA with them and partner with them, that we would be able to get a lower rate. Did we ever explore that?
It's not something that we have explored. We have looked at a lot of HIFs in the past, and they take you based on what your claims data is, right? So they don't want to take anyone who would bring down their claims experience, but it's something we could explore.
Okay, because I believe that they're facing around 2% increase, which to my understanding is not bad after
No, it's great.
reading it. So I just, if possible, if you can just do some research and maybe possibly explore that.
Any further?
That's it.
Councilman McKenna?
Yes, with respect to the LEAP agreement, my understanding from the last council meeting, and just correct me if I'm wrong, that the $400,000 was for implementation of the shared services agreement with the county.
Correct.
So operational costs associated with that are still being determined and will come before us at some point.
The county has graciously offered to eat most of the capital cost.
And what's most of?
The ambulance, anything that they would need on the ambulance, the gear. We were just looking at covering salaries and wages.
Which is, do we know what that cost is?
We don't have a hard number yet. It looks like it's going to be around $250 a year.
Okay, so the 400 is not covering operational; it's offsetting for implementation.
Yes.
Okay. With respect to the Acrisure, the state came out last fall with the increased rates. It's been a public debate for a long time, and
We've been waiting on the governor's budget because we had heard starting in November that the governor was going to put forth relief for municipalities, and we've been waiting for that relief, waiting to see what happens. So now that, we're getting pretty far into it, we're looking to see, well, once I get, if this passes tonight, then I would ask them to look for somewhere to move starting July 1st. But it does take 90 days to get your claims data from the state, so I did request that in advance.
and that would be, you're doing Acrisure as part of this year's budget.
Acrisure is from April of this year to December.
Not their contract, the data that they're going to take and come back with.
We're going to have to look at the last 12 months of data.
Right, but they're going to shop it for this year's budget?
Yes, hopefully.
Which normally we actually last year got it on this night. Last year we don't have it yet.
Right. There's extenuating circumstances, which I remember emailing you about.
Yeah, and they weren't particularly clear with respect to this. We knew this increase was coming last fall, so that would have probably been the time to.
We knew the increase was coming, but there was a lot of talk that the governor wasn't actually going to let it happen, that there was going to be a relief put in place before January 1st.
So other towns that have already passed their budgets
are in the state? You mean the ones that are in the state? They're keeping with the state, but I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, I just know about Plainfield.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Graham?
No questions.
Councilman Good?
None for me either.
Madam Vice President?
No questions.
Comment? I forgot earlier. Brief. Okay. I just wanted to, about the grant, as far, what is it, the USTA? I think she left, but I just wanted to publicly thank Veronica Teller for the work that she has been doing down at the tennis program. It not only creates a feeder program for the programs we already have, but it also encourages health and wellness in our community. And we can see a Serena Williams or some sort come from the city of Plainfield. So we have a lot of rich history, Donald Van Blake, Curtis Young, and so many others. So I just wanted to thank Veronica Teller and the Recreation Department for the work that they've been doing.
All right. Do I have consensus to move these items to the consent agenda?
So moved.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Mr. Clerk, did you get that? Corporate Counsel, can you please present your items?
Thank you, Council President. I'll just try to speak up. My mic's not working now. Two workers' compensation settlements for consideration by the council tonight. Earlier this morning, we forwarded settlement recommendation, confidential settlement recommendations to council members. I did make myself available to any council member who had questions. Thank you, Mayor. I won't belabor the specifics because they are pending litigation, but I ask that they be added to the agenda this evening.
Councilman Hockaday.
No objections, no questions.
Councilman Wyatt.
No questions.
Councilman McKenna.
No questions.
Councilman Graham.
No questions.
Councilman Good.
None here.
Madam Vice President.
No questions.
Do I have consensus to place this on the regular agenda?
Moved.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any objections? This is on the consent agenda. Department of Finance, please present your items.
Thank you, Council President. I have 3 items for your consideration. Resolution authorizing an amendment to a prior resolution, R 03023, increasing the appropriation from $25,000 to $120,000 for NW Financial Group for professional services as financial advisor. Secondly, resolution to reappropriate certain grant reserve balances associated with the American Rescue Plan Act. And thirdly, resolution awarding a contract to Lawrence, Vinci, and Blitz, formerly Lawrence, Vinci, and Higgins, to provide accounting services in an amount not to exceed $50,000. Any questions?
Councilman Hockaday.
Can you talk to me about the DPW LEAF program?
The DPW LEAF?
We're on Department of Finance.
It was one of the things that the ARPA funds are being reappropriated to.
Council President, he's correct. He's talking about how we're going to be using ARPA funds to pay for the DPW LEAF program, which is when they go around and pick up the leaves. It's about $100,000 in salary costs, and we're going to be spending ARPA funds on that.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes. R145-23. So I see that it was $25,000. We asked for an increase to $120,000. What's the return on our investment for this?
There are certain new redevelopment projects that require financial advisory services, and we met with the Economic Development Department, and we figured that the $25,000 was not going to get us through with all the new redevelopment that's going on. So they have asked for an increase to cover any cost. A lot of it would come from escrows, as you would see in the outlined in the resolution. 100,000 of it would come from escrows. And
Okay, so their scope of the work is $95,000 more. They're doing that much more work.
according to my information from the Economic Development Department, there's much redevelopment going on.
Thank you.
Councilman McKenna.
Yeah, yes. Can you outline each one of the transfer to spending lines? The LFRF Air Packs, the LFRF ARPA Administrative Services, LFRF OEM Code Blue, which I think we know what that is. Police Department Cybersecurity, and the DPW has already been answered. So
I didn't bring that detail with me, but
I can. You want me to go through do them one at a time?
Yeah. For the first one, Air Packs is for the police department, the fire department. So for ARPA, we have some unspent balances. So some prior projects that all the money was not spent. So we want to reallocate those funds rather than lose those funds.
No,
we have a certain amount of time to use them.
Right.
So we're reallocating them to things much needed.
Okay, so we're reallocating $673,000 from what was previously allocated, which was $673,000, one of which was ventilation improvements for the municipal court at $325,000. Did we do that for a lesser amount?
Right, so we're moving the 325 and we're moving 250 of it to Code Blue and 75 to cybersecurity.
And Code Blue is for cold days below freezing for shelter
Extenuating
services.
weather circumstances. It could be cold, it could be very hot.
And what did we have for Code Blue last year?
I don't think we budgeted for Cold Blue last year.
But we need 250,000 this year in April, which would go, the cold months would be the last 2 months of.
Council President, if I may, Code Blue, I think I talked about this at a previous meeting, that we've taken on the initiative that we realized that we had a gap in services where on Code Blue nights, we have an open center, but they do not accept children under 18. And so a lot of moms who are coming with kids under 18 were being turned away. It's going to their cars, going to the streets. So the OEM director, who's also our fire director, and I and the police director sat down, and also our director of health and social services, and we decided that this is something we need to allocate money towards. And now they are having the senior center open overnight. We accept mothers and children, and we've been able to close that gap in service. But obviously it costs money. It costs overtime money. It costs staffing money. It costs money for food, et cetera.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
It's a new expense. And also just in terms of the air packs, because I know that was another question, that is something that PIOSHA came in and told us that we need to update our air packs. And if we didn't, we would start being fined every day that we didn't do that. So that's an urgent request.
Now, the air packs were supposed to be updated over a period of time as part of the capital improvement plan, right?
They were, but PIOSHA has expedited that.
And the last one with respect to the LEAF program, that is the whole summer into fall pickup,
Yeah,
yard
it's
refuse.
late summer, fall.
Okay, so question on that, because it's an important topic. I've gotten blown up the last 10 days with residents who are getting violations for having the leaves out. It's citing the wrong chapter in the violation, and then they're getting a second violation saying they're going to come out and re-inspect, and they get the violation the day after the re-inspection day. Now, one of the things they're being told is that these items have to be bagged, which we have never done. It's not in the ordinance. And I've got 2 streets that have gotten a lot of these violations. They've reached out to the department. They've been told that's what they were told to submit, which is Chapter 13 in the municipal code. It's actually Chapter 12. They're getting cited for exterior debris versus yard waste pickup. And on top of that, they don't know when to put their pickup out because we haven't sent the schedule out, other than I heard a couple people started getting it. Now, spring sometimes can sneak up on you, so I know we're not always prepared, but why wouldn't we send this thing out in January? We know when the pickup is. It happens the same year, shifted a date forward or back. But now we've got residents who are getting violations, which, by the way, I've talked to all of them, and I would like them to be dealt with by the administration because we have never enforced yard waste pickup violations. And if we're going to, then there should be a big notice that goes out on Facebook, on the website, in the mail, in the mayor's spring, fall, summer newsletter that says we're now going to start enforcing it. And I don't have a problem with enforcing it, by the way. I have a problem with enforcing it without telling people after 20 years of not enforcing it that we're suddenly going to enforce it. So explain to me how this works with the $100,000 in additional funds for leaf pickup. Are we also offsetting it by fining residents for violations we've never enforced?
I could speak to the $100,000, but I can't speak to the violations because I don't know anything about that piece. But the $100,000 is what we always budget for salaries annually. Sometimes a little more, but this year we're looking at it's probably going to cost about $100,000. So that's it's not $100,000 over what you've seen in previous years.
And that's the spring through the fall pickups.
The pickup is just one line item. Whatever month it happens, but it's $100,000, give or take, for the line item.
And then anybody else want to answer on the violations?
That's a separate issue. That's not part of the thing. They can answer that separately.
We'll pick that up at the end. You'll have some time to work on that one. Thank you very much.
Councilman Graham?
No questions.
Councilman Good?
None from me either. Thank you.
Madam Vice President?
No questions.
Do I have consensus to move these items to the consent agenda?
Moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Which item are you opposed to?
147-23.
47-23. Okay, that one's not on the consent agenda, we'll pick that up. Okay. The Police Department, would you please present your item?
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. I have 5 items on the agenda for your consent this evening. First one is regarding a resolution authorizing the Plainfield Police Department to donate 7 unserviceable used bulletproof vests to the Royal Grenada Police Force. Just a quick explanation on that if people are wondering what does that mean, unserviceable. What it means is that according to the federal government and state standards, there's a certain level of time that you can actively use a bulletproof vest. After that, it begins to degrade. Other countries throughout the world do not have this standard. The standard that we have in the United States is usually 5 years. So we can send these vests out to different countries and places where they can still use them. They're still effective. They're just not effective according to the federal and state standard in this country. Just to explain that. Other than that is a resolution to accept the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. I'll explain that later if I need to. Resolution authorizing approval to apply and accept the New Jersey Division of Highway and Safety Distracted Driving Crackdown Grant. I'm sure people have heard about that. It's been all over the news. It's basically about distracted driving, whether you're driving, texting, on the phone, eating, doing your hair, or anything like that. That's what the Distracted Driving Grant is about. The resolution 15123 in regards to installation of fixed building ladders at Plainfield Police Department and the Municipal Court Building by Weatherproofing Technologies Incorporated, not to exceed $28,899.06. That is in regards to a standard that is set by POSHA. This is a multi-level building. So the way that it works is there are access points on the second floor of this building and even up a little bit further, where if there was an emergency, if there was a fire in certain parts of this building, people would be trapped on the roof. We do not have ladders there. We had to purchase these ladders and place them on the different levels of the roof to get all the way down to the street. At the street level, it will be secured off where no one can gain access to them to climb up if they wanted to do something nefarious to the police department and court, so it will be secured. Item 15223 is the New Jersey Division of Highway Safety, Traffic Safety Grant, Drunk Driving Enforcement Fund. That's drive sober, get pulled over. That's usually around this time of the year. It's part of a one-time spending plan. It costs the city no money. It's grant money that we do not have to replace. Is there any questions for me?
Councilman Hockaday?
Yeah, just like to commend you for the cooperation with with other countries and giving them our unserviceable items. Are there other opportunities or other unserviceable items that we have that we could be donating to other countries?
That is possible. What I will do is I'll have my the members of my department will do a deep dive into that and see if there are things that we can donate to countries and people who obviously need them.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Councilman White?
No question.
Councilman McKenna?
Yes, 2 questions. One, the ladders on the building, are these the types, I might be dating myself, but the metal that are attached to the building, then
yes.
they have that panel that goes across to keep anybody from being able to...
Yes, but on the ground floor here, we'll have it fenced in as well.
Okay.
Because we don't want anybody to gain access to the top of the building.
Right, and then the other one is kind of a combo question between 150 and 152.
Mm-hmm.
How do you use those funds directly? Like specifically, do you increase checkpoints? Do you increase traffic patrols that target?
It depends. In some cases, we use them to buy equipment. We'll get different stop signs and different things that we will put throughout the city, whether it's those temporary stop signs, but it depends on the grant, so it varies. With the distracted grant, there's very few things we can do outside of doing, like you said, doing checkpoints or different things, or stationing officers on corners in plain clothes, and one will have a radio and they'll say the black Nissan drove by, the person is talking on the phone. Somebody about a block down will be in a police car, they'll pull them over. Those type of things are what we do with the distracted driving grant. Drunk driving, it can vary. It can be literature that we pass out to the community. We could try to do a combination of things with other city agencies or even the Board of Education to just get the educational value of some of it out. But a lot of it is centered around pulling people over who are intoxicated.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Graham.
Yes, the grant for the 152-23, anything that we can do to make our intersections more safer, I'm all for it. So I appreciate these grants being available to us every year.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Good.
Director Abney, can you please describe to me what an unserviceable bulletproof vest is? I mean, and if it's unserviceable, why are we donating it?
It's wording. It's semantics. Basically, if we buy a vest today,
right?
This is April 10th of 2023. It comes to the department. I assign it to an officer. They never get shot in the vest. There's no damage to the vest. Nothing happens to the vest. 5 years from this date, that vest goes out of service. That is per federal standards. And
So
also
there's an
standards of the
expiration
state.
date on
Absolutely.
vests?
Absolutely,
Okay.
just like on a lot of other things.
That's-
It has an expiration date
okay.
according to the federal and state standard that we have in this country. Other places it's different, and they don't have to deal with that.
Now, are there currently ladders up now? Or is this something new?
No, there are no ladders on this building, and there haven't been in the past at least 30 to 40 years.
Why now?
Well, it's something that we looked at. We got some letters from the state in regards to it, and it's a safety issue. It has to be taken care of immediately. I don't want anything to happen to anybody in this building.
Thank you, Director. Appreciate
Welcome,
it.
sir.
Madam Councilwoman.
No questions. No questions.
Do I have a consensus to put this on the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any objection? Would the Department of Public Works please present your items?
Good evening, Council President, members of the council, and general public. Department of Public Works, please present 10 resolutions on the agenda for tonight. Starting with Resolution R15323, resolution authorizing change order number 1, final accepting the 2-year maintenance bond, releasing the performance bond, return to retainage, and final payment in the amount of $275,814.65 for the East 3rd Street project, Watchung Avenue to Leland Avenue roadway improvements to Top Line Construction. Resolution 15423, authorizing the City of Plainfield Solid Waste and Sewer Utility to enter into a 1-year shared service agreement with the Township of North Plainfield for bulky waste type 13, vegetative waste type 23, disposal services at the utility transfer station. Resolution 15523, resolution authorizing the City of Plainfield Solid Waste and Utility to enter a 1-year shared service agreement with the Township of Greenbrook for bulky waste type 13, vegetative waste 23, disposal service at the utility transfer station. These are revenue generators. 15623, resolution authorizing approval to submit a grant application, execute a grant contract with New Jersey Department of Transportation in the amount of $5,195,680 for the Route 28 project. Resolution 15723, resolution authorizing approval for street opening at 734 St. Mary's Avenue to Kenneth Gonzalez, called the City of Plainfield Municipal Code, Section 13.4, for a 5-year moratorium. Resolution 15823, authorizing the award of professional service contract to Remington and Vernick, and this is for $352,900. This is for the presentation that was just given regarding the Rushmore Recreation Complex Phase 2 aquatics improvements. Resolution 15923, resolution authorizing approval to submit a grant application, accept the grant, and maintenance of the project, and execute the grant agreement with the County of Union for the 23 infrastructure and municipal aid grant application for the West End/Grant Avenue Road Improvements Project. That goes from West Front to 7th Street. Resolution R16023, resolution authorizing the award of professional service contract to Pannoni Associates for $10,000. This is for the design for the resurfacing of the basketball courts at Maple Crest Park. Resolution 16123, resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 new 2023 Ford F-250 pickup trucks with snow package under state contract for the Division of Public Works. Resolution 16223, resolution authorizing approval for lien placements for 30 properties totaling $22,997.55 for Division of Inspections. I'm open for any questions.
Councilman Hockaday?
Yes, Director. Overall, the items presented tonight in Public Works span the city. Most of them improvements to our recreation, to our roads, and especially recreation. This is all good things, as well as cleaning up the city with the lien placements. So this is exactly what I want to see, and with our Public Works, it being active. In terms of the shared agreements with the other towns, North Plainfield is. So we're getting back into the business in a sense. With PMUA, we had terminated all of our shared agreements, and now we're getting back into it. But the priority, of course, should always be the residents of Plainfield, making sure that they're well taken care of. Just talk about generally how this shared services agreement came about, whether or not it'll affect the services that the residents of the city of Plainfield come to expect, and whether or not this revenue generator would lead to any reduction in costs of the services to Plainfield residents.
That's a good question. That's our goal over time in the whole administration, to try to reduce whatever we can or continue to stabilize everything. But this is a revenue generator on our side. It won't affect any of the operational services. This is for debris coming to the transfer station that will be disposed outside. So it's coming in. So that just enhances our revenue stream with both North Plainfield and Greenbrook. So it's a win-win on that side. And again, it has no effect on our services because it's nothing to do with collection. It's just disposal of materials.
Do we have to hire additional personnel in order to handle this, or we can do it with existing personnel?
We can do it with existing personnel. There's no additional hires.
Nothing further.
Councilman Wyatt?
Yes, R161-23, just a quick question. With the current inflation and current price index on vehicles, is this a smart time for us to be purchasing vehicles?
Question, Councilman. Yes, I think because in the state contract, we always get the bottom line number. We purchase in the state contract, so it's beneficial to us when we go that route.
Okay. And R162-23, for the lien placements. So going forward, should we see more of this? Because I know that code enforcement is a big issue across the city of Plainfield. And so this seems like now we're holding people accountable. So when we start seeing more liens placed on properties when we do beautification projects, or we cut the people grass or pick up their trash or stuff like that?
Yes, you will. And plus, with the season changing now, yes, you'll see a lot more of that outside. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I just have one question related to R156-23. What segment of 28 is that going to improve?
Well, that's a good question. A part of Plainfield Avenue, that's the county road, but this is Route 28. That goes from West Front Street to West 5th, West 4th Street from Park to Roosevelt, East 5th Street from Park to Berkman, West 5th Street from Plainfield to Park Ave, and West 4th Street from Plainfield Avenue to Park Ave. Those areas that we'll cover.
Very good. Thank you.
Councilman Graham?
Yes, regarding 153-23, at what point will the remainder of East 3rd Street be paved from Leland to Terrell?
That's working. That's in the process. Now we're putting everything together, design, et cetera, for that. So that should be starting hopefully over the next few months. We're going out to bid and everything, so you'll be seeing something come before you with a bid for a contract.
All right, so we'll start to see work being done sometime this year?
Hopefully, once we get the bids out and everything, that comes before you all for approval. Then we'll
Okay.
see.
Thank you.
Councilman Good?
Director Abney, the bulk of these resolutions seem to be like that we are in rehab stage, so it would be great to see when all of this is done. But between Plainfield Avenue and, let's say, Clinton, 28. Is any of that going to be done? I seem like I remember hearing it.
That was done, that's part of the $2 million grant that we had approved through the county. So that's a portion of, that's going to be done too, that's right. That was approved going back a few months ago.
And it will begin when?
Well, we're in the design process now.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Madam Vice President,
No questions.
do I have consensus to place these on the consent agenda?
Moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Would the Director of Economic Development please present her items?
Good evening, Council President. Thank you. I have 6 resolutions to present tonight, starting with R163-23. This is a resolution to support a micro retail cannabis business. The council already supported this resolution under R328-22 late last year, where we were looking at a different location. The location originally was on 107 to 17 Park Avenue. This location now would be on 517 Park Avenue. This would not change the number of businesses that the council has supported. It's just that when the business submits to the state, it has to be specific in location. The next resolution is the designation of a redeveloper and also authorization for the redevelopment agreement. This is being presented for clarifying language that this is for the designation of the redeveloper and to ensure that this redeveloper still has to go, is subject to all the government approval processes. The next one that we have is a resolution to authorize an amendment for a redevelopment agreement. This is an agreement that is currently located at 111 to 27 West 4th Street, or this is Municipal Parking Lot 10. Right now, the reason why we're amending the agreement is because the project has changed. Originally, it was 6 stories. Now it's going to 5 stories. Originally, it was 110 residential units. Now it's 135 residential units. The reduction of stories and increase of residential unit is the composition of the number of bedroom and studio apartments. The next resolution that we're looking at, R16-23. This is looking at, and I'm going to look at the next 2 resolutions together, R-167-23 as well, because this is a property exchange. The first property that we're talking about is Block 316, Lot 23. This is in our municipal lot number 6. The city currently owns lots 22 and 24. Lot 23 is owned by Paramount Properties. In exchange to get lot 23 to make that whole development area whole for the purpose of redevelopment, we are going to exchange the ownership that we have, terminating our agreement in the release of the property of Fairchild Alley, which is behind 125 East Front Street. The final resolution I have is 168-23. This is a request to release funding for the urbanized enterprise zone, or rather transfer it for use in marketing, strategic branding, and promotion for the city in the amount not to exceed $100,000. This is from our urban enterprise zone funding apportionment that we received in fiscal year 22. Any questions?
Councilman Hockaday?
So the question is, for the property that we are swapping so much with Paramount Properties, the relative value of each of these properties are roughly the same or not?
Yes, they're the same in terms of size and the land assessment value.
Okay. Who prepares conveyance documents for the city?
So we have 2 redevelopment attorneys on retainer for that.
Councilman Wyatt?
Yes, on R164-23, I don't know why my colleagues and I are reconsidering our action on this item. If I am not wrong, this is the item that we voted no on at the last meeting, the storage facility in the middle of a residential area. I didn't see any amendments to the concepts, any changes. So I don't understand why this is back on the agenda for us to reconsider. And, I just hope that my colleagues show that they have a backbone and show that they are representing the constituents and not the developers nor the administration.
Any further questions? It's already stated that it's clarifying language.
Okay.
Mr. McKenna?
Yes, with respect to 164-23, which my colleague, Mr. Wyatt, rightfully said was voted down last time, the language is to designate them as a redeveloper, correct?
Yes.
I was actually talking to...
I know, but...
That's correct. And then they will proceed from there to get various government approvals, including planning board approval?
Yes.
And when they go before planning board and present a storage facility, that's a permitted use in that zone?
It is a permitted use.
So they can present a storage facility, and a storage facility can be built in this area?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. With respect to 165-23, we're taking 6 stories down to 5 and increasing the units by 25. So we're getting rid of 2 bedrooms. We're increasing 1 bedroom and studios.
Yes.
So we got 135 units, and we have 92 parking spaces.
We have 135 units and, yes, 92 parking spaces. And what we're looking at is that they received the 10% credit for electric vehicle spaces.
Right, but of those 92 parking spots, I believe, is it 15 shall consider being electric parking spaces? I may have that wrong. Could be 5.
Okay. I'm just looking to make sure I give you the accurate number. So, excuse me, we actually, you are right with the 15, that there are 15 that are charging. We actually have 97 parking spaces for the tenants. There are,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
there's a total of approximately 122 spaces. This is 97 parking spaces for the tenant, of which 15 are electric charging spaces, and we actually get 25 spaces for parking, for public parking for city.
Okay, so non-electric vehicles, there will be 82 parking spaces for 135 units?
Yes.
And then hopefully there will be 15 people in there that have electric vehicles. So we gave them a pretty big credit, even though that redevelopment plan was already giving them a pretty big discount on parking in the bulk standards. So we gave them another 10% discount. So we're non-EV, we're talking about 82 parking spaces for 130 units, when we already have a parking problem. And we're taking up a parking lot on top of it. How many parking spots are in that lot now?
This is lot number 1. I can look it up to give you the exact number, but I believe it's close to 100, but I'll verify the exact number for you.
So we have 100 city parking spots now that will go down to 25.
That includes what's used for tenant parking and permit parking now.
How many of the 100 now are used for tenant parking over in that area?
Roughly about 70.
70?
Yeah.
So, okay. Forgive me a second. So we have 135 units going in. They're going to get 82 parking spaces. About 70 current spots are used for neighboring apartment developments that got approval based on getting permits for parking. We're really short here. Like really, really, really short. Where are we where are we parking people?
So this is looking at shared parking, and that some of the tenants that are using those spaces right now would be absorbed in those total of 122 spaces.
So some of the 70 will get some of these 122. Okay, so let's say the 25 public ones become permits for those current 70. We're still short.
So we're not looking at going for all the 70. We'll use the permit spaces because those tenant spaces that they're using for residents or for retail are no longer needed.
No, they are needed because you have 70 tenant spots there now for area buildings. So that's 70 tenant spots, of which is now going to be roughly 25. So we're short there, and then we're going to be short on the existing. In this standard, we're going to be short from 82 to 135. Well, let me give you the 97, including EV. Let's hope everybody buys an EV over there, and we're really short here. So, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how this is making sense. We are so upside down on our parking in every one of these developments, and we are really upside down on this one. This makes absolutely no sense to me. They can't go to Lot 6 because that's going to be a building on Lot 6 with parking for tenants and just a few more spots than is already there for public. So how do we justify this to the public when someone says to me, where are all these people going to park? What's my answer?
So I can look and verify the parking in that lot right now, but what this was designed for is that we have, in some cases, a 1-to-1 or a 0.8 to the number of bedroom units that are.
Which I don't necessarily agree when that's done, but I understand your point. My problem is that Lot 6 and this lot and one other lot 10, had projects approved at the planning board when I was on the planning board, and I know since then, that said they would, if they were short parking or needed additional parking or made arrangements, that they would provide parking permits for those residents in the city lots. So I'm sure we don't have an inventory of that other than just random people that get permits, and we don't associate them with any of these developments. But we are now going to go backward in time, and these developments that were approved based on that preconceived idea are now problematic. So, this is a domino effect that we're already seeing. We're already seeing parking problems everywhere. It's no secret that even South Avenue has people parking on the street, and it's not allowed. But if you start enforcing it, you have a huge issue. We have Thornton that has a huge parking problem at the end of the street because it's overflow from apartment buildings that are either charging for parking when they shouldn't be or don't have enough parking. And some of those are non-conforming pre-existing buildings. But we have the ability here to try to help alleviate this problem, and we're literally making it worse. So that's my only question on that. Thank you.
Any more questions? Councilman Graham?
Yes. Director, please explain to me what the challenge was regarding, I'm sorry, this is regarding 164-23. What the challenge was regarding adding retail space to the 2nd Street side of that facility?
This location is in a flood zone, which only allows for commercial development. If they wanted to build retail, they would have to build a podium of 6 feet.
Right, okay. That was it regarding my questions. Only comment that I have is I canvassed the 2nd Street, the whole 2nd Street from Netherwood to Garfield, and I spoke with those business owners regarding this proposed development here, and I did get some good feedback from the residents, and I did tell them that I would get back to them regarding the challenge that there was with having the retail on the 2nd Street side. But a lot of those businesses they can actually use this facility, this proposed facility. Thank you.
Councilman Good.
Director, as far as I remember, there were no other options on the table for that area, was it? Okay. I too asked the business owners in the area, and they seem to be excited about it. The few that I did speak to, but again, you said no other options.
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Council Vice President.
Again, I'm concerned also about that parking situation with the residents, and I know it's definitely going to be a challenge with that. So, for sure, I'm going to say nay when it comes to vote.
Do I have a consensus to place these items on the consent agenda?
Nope.
I want to pull out R164-23.
Okay.
R165-23 to pull out.
Right now, we're just seeing if there's consensus to add it to the agenda.
Yeah.
If it's going to be pulled, it'd have to be pulled. at the
Not
regular
pulled.
meeting.
They mean, you mean
Pulled
pulled
from the consent
or-
agenda?
Yeah, consent. So vote separately.
I'm in favor of all others.
Second.
So 164
4-23.
and 165.
Yeah.
Would the Department of Director of Health and Social Services please present their items?
Thank you, Council President. I have the following items to present to the council, starting with R169-23, which is a resolution requesting approval for fireworks, an agreement with Garden State Fireworks for not to exceed $15,000 for the House Music Festival. R170-23, which is to apply for and accept a grant, a HART grant, not to exceed $2,700. This grant goes to fund the Jazz on Park series that we're hosting. R171-23 is a resolution asking the City of Plainfield to enter into an agreement with the Neighborhood Health Services Corporation. This is the third MOU that I mentioned in the previous meeting. This one provides clinical oversight for our health division, particularly for non-COVID vaccines and any of our health programs. One of the responsibilities is that they have to not only sign on it, but they have to review our plans and any documents that have to be submitted to the department. The New Jersey Department of Health has to be have the signature of the clinician on it. Resolution 172-23 is authorizing an agreement with LexisNexis Vital Check. They provide online applications for birth, death, and marriage certificates. R173-23 is recognizing April 3rd, 2023 through April 9th, 2023 as National Public Health Week. R174-23 is a resolution seeking authorization to extend our contract with North Jersey AIDS Alliance for the amount not to exceed $45,000, and those dollars are grant funded by the New Jersey Department of Health to do COVID vaccines in a mobile van in various sites throughout the city. R175-23 is a resolution requesting authorization for an agreement between the City of Plainfield and the Union County Department of Public Safety authorizing jobs for Blue services not to exceed $20,491. This is to provide police support for the House Music Festival, and this is an annual cost. This is something that we do annually, and it is a large event. We do expect to have about 10,000 people attend this year, and so as we grow, we are requested, because it is a Union County Park, to make sure that we have certain offices in place. R176-23 is a resolution, and actually R17623 and 17723 are both authorizations to place liens on landlords or building owners for relocation reimbursement. This is the first time that we're doing it, and as DPW and the Quality of Life Task Force increases condemnations of apartments that are not habitable for whatever reason, whether they are without heat, without water, without electricity, or they have overcrowded, or there's illegal apartments, as they shut those apartments down, or if they condemn those apartments, we house them for mostly up to 5 weeks. 5 days at a local hotel. If you look at some of the work that we had to do, it ended up that these two cases had to have bench warrants extended to them. So they were particularly grievous in trying to respond to how we try to recoup our money. So having not been able to recoup our money like we generally do, we are putting liens on their property. And that's it for Department of Health and Social Services.
Councilman Hockaday.
Yes, Director, thank you for your presentation. For the contract with Vital Check, thank you particularly for that. I know from personal experience that we may not have access to every resident's birth certificate or death certificate. We have limited space, and it's just been I don't know what happens with some of the record keeping, but being able to partner with an external organization to get that and also to have it online is a great convenience to residents who are looking for those sensitive records. And it seemingly all it says no fiscal impact for that. So I think that's a good thing. Where are they getting their data from? Are they getting it from Trenton, or are they looking at our records and making them available online?
We pull our records and we provide them that way.
And do they pull from Trenton as well? Or
No.
Are they only taking our records that we have?
We only do Plainfield. If the records don't exist in the city of Plainfield, then they would have to go to Trenton, and that's where they can get those documents. And they do have a similar system as well.
So they will do that in Trenton for Plainfield residents online?
They can. They do statewide.
Okay. So that's definitely a great convenience for residents who, if their records aren't available in Plainfield, they have to apply for Trenton. It takes 4 to 6 weeks, or they have to drive to Trenton to get their documents. So I'm in great support of this. Thank you.
Mr. White?
Yes. One question. R171-23. So that you said is in place so a doctor can sign off?
Yes.
R71-23?
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a director of health who is a doctor as well, so we need a doctor to sign off on a doctor? Or how does that work?
So our health officer is now authorized to be able to sign off on those documents. Okay. So we need a clinician, a physician to do that.
Okay. So he's not that type of doctor, you're saying?
No, he's not a physician.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilman McKenna?
No questions.
Councilman Graham?
Yes. Regarding the jazz concert series, where is that going to be?
At PPAC.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. Indoors?
Yes.
Okay. Now, regarding 177-23, so when a landlord screens his or her tenant for a one-bedroom and they start off with 3 people and then another 3 people move in, isn't that the tenant's fault, and so we pay for that? Meaning, if the tenant moves in too many people into an apartment, that all of a sudden becomes the burden of the landlord to get a lien on his or her property?
So I think that we can never, if it's a legal occupancy, we can never determine how many people live in an apartment. But in the cases that we're talking about, these are illegal occupancies. They tend to be. They tend to be situations where residents aren't living in apartments that are healthy. So it's not just DPW that could condemn an apartment, so could the health division. And so often if there's an infestation that is beyond what is acceptable, if there is no electricity, no heat, those are all responsibilities of the building owner and landlord. And so ultimately he or she is held accountable for making sure that, which is part of their lease, that those things are in place.
All right, so it had nothing to do with overcrowding.
Well, in the case that if DPW or Quality of Life Task Force goes there and sees that in a house where you may have apartments that have illegal locks on the doors, and you see that multiple families live in each room, yeah, that is an occupancy issue.
Okay. My only concern was just something like that happening. It all of a sudden becomes the burden of the landlord where what can we do to, I guess, prevent that from happening? It seems to happen a lot in this town, where a person may say, "Hey, it's me, my daughter, and my son," and then months later, more people move in, breaching their own lease, and I just don't think it's fair that property owners bear the burden of, I guess, people breaching their lease.
Well, if I may, sir,
Sure.
I think it is also the responsibility of the building owner to monitor what goes on in their building. So ultimately, it is the responsibility of the building owner to determine who lives in their building. And so if they don't monitor it, if they are distant landlords, ultimately they don't know what goes in their building, which is their responsibility, and it is a contractual agreement that they made with the tenant.
Right.
And so ultimately, they are responsible.
Yes. No, I agree with you. I just wanted to just kind of open up that dialogue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Good.
Thank you, Council President. Director Brown, what's the success rate of cracking down on the overcrowding, for lack of a better way of putting it?
So I'm going to, do you want me to take this? So I'm going to ask Director Dabney to take this, because we're not the ones that actually condemn the apartments in community development. We're the ones that do the housing. So if it's an emergency housing, then we will, if they are legal residents, if they can prove to us that they've been living there
But
legally.
does it sometimes fall in your lap, though? Does it sometimes fall in your lap?
To condemn an apartment?
No, that you hear that situation where it's overcrowded.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's why we had a Quality of Life Task Force.
Okay, well, I'll get that information from
Okay.
Director Dabney. No need to correct me, Council President. Director Brown.
Yes.
Does the city of Plainfield have a program for AIDS awareness where residents, the people that live here, are able to come and get tested?
So we work with Hyerson and
Mhm.
Iris House, who
Okay.
are the largest testers for AIDS and HIV in the city of Plainfield. So we always refer people to those two agencies, because it's not just about getting tested, it's also about the wraparound services and the counseling that goes along with it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Madam Vice President.
Just actually a statement and questions as well. I think that's a great idea that that there is an agreement with the Vital Check as far as getting the birth certificates and making it available for our residents, and prayerfully we'll have it a communication that we can put out that the residents will know that this is available to them, and in Spanish as well, so they'll know how to go online and access this information, because Vital Check is definitely statewide, because I know when I went to get my birth certificate, it cost me $50. And that wasn't even a delivery fee, because I was born in Virginia, so it cost me a lot of money. So I just think it's a great idea. And Director Brown, thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a consensus to place these items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any objections? Would the business administrator please present the ordinances listed on first reading, NC 2023-09 through 13?
Sure, Council President. We have 5 ordinances for your consideration tonight. The first one is an ordinance authorizing vacation of the right-of-way known as Fairchild Alley. This goes back to the resolutions that were on the economic development agenda, and this is related to the exchange of property that we're doing with Paramount, so we have to vacate if we're going to swap those properties. The second one is an ordinance for the City of Plainfield, County of Union, to adopt the West End Industrial Corridor Redevelopment Plan dated February 16th, 2023. And this plan allows for advanced manufacturing, light industrial, and retail in that area. We then have we do this on an annual basis, the ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limit and to establish a cap bank. This is an ordinance that has to be done prior to the introduction of the budget, which is why it's on tonight. We have an ordinance amending the sewer connection fees, which is Chapter 2, Article 10, Section 6C, fee schedule. And those have not been amended in the actual document since 1968. So while it looks like a big jump from $100 to $2,527 for new construction, that's what is that, 40, 50? That's a long time since it's been solidified in writing. And then we have finally a capital ordinance for the sewer and solid waste utility, appropriating $3 million from the reserve for future capital improvement fund. And that's so that they can purchase front loader packers, multi-pack side rear loader packers, tractors, trailers, all their big trucks that they need so that they can be more efficient with pickup.
Do we have a consensus to add these agendas to the voting meeting?
Second. Moved.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any objections? Please to the voting meeting, please. And I have a motion for a 5-minute recess. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5 minutes. Motion to return to meeting.
So moved.
May I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any objections? If any member of the public would like to call in for public comments on this ordinance, please dial 646-558-8656. Enter the meeting ID 938-3643-9534. Dial *9 to raise and lower your hand. This information can be found on the city website as well as YouTube. Consideration of public hearing, second reading, and final passage. Mr. Clerk, please read MC 2023-03 by title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
MC 2023-03 is an ordinance amending schedule of classification salaries and hourly rates of seasonal, hourly, and temporary positions adopted pursuant to Chapter 11, Article 14A of the Municipal Code of the City of Plainfield, New Jersey, 1971. It's hereby certified that notice of public hearing on this ordinance is published in the Courier News on March 24th, 2023.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. Are there any? May I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance?
Moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage? And if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Council members Graham?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Hockaday?
Yes.
McKenna?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Vice President Briggs Jones?
Yes.
Council President McCray?
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, please read MC 2023-04 by title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
MC 2023-04 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union adopting the TODD South Redevelopment Plan Amendment dated January 19th, 2023. It's hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 24th, 2023.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. Anyone? Seeing none in the gallery or virtual, may I have a motion to close public comment?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage? And if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Council members Graham?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Hockaday?
Yes.
McKenna?
No.
Wyatt?
No.
Vice President Briggs Jones?
No.
Council President McCray?
Yes.
4 in favor, 3 opposed. Ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, please read MC 2023-05 by title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
MC 2023-05 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union granting a tax exemption with respect to certain properties identified on the city's tax map as Block 705, Lot 8, designated in the city tax record as 522 through 526, Park Avenue, Plainfield, New Jersey, and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with AK2 Urban Renewal, LLC. It's certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 24th, 2023.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. Seeing none in the gallery, none virtually, may I have a motion to close public comment hearing on this ordinance?
Moved.
Second.
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Council members Graham.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Hockaday.
Yes.
McKenna.
No.
Wyatt.
No.
Vice President Briggs Jones.
No.
Council President McCray.
Yes.
4 in favor, 3 opposed. Ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, please read MC 2023-06 by title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
MC 2023-06, an ordinance by the City of Plainfield amending the City of Plainfield's Code of Ordinances to repeal Chapter 17:930 MC 2017-38 to adopt a new Chapter 17:930 to adopt flood hazard maps to designate a floodplain administrator and providing for severability and an effective date. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 24th, 2023.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. Seeing none in the gallery and none virtually, may I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
May I have, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any objections? May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage? And if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Roll call on MC 2023-06. Council members Graham.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Hockaday. McKenna.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Vice President Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Council President McCray.
Yes.
That is unanimous. The ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, please read MC 2023-07 by title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
MC 2023-07 is an ordinance to amend Chapter 17, the land use ordinance of the City of Plainfield by removing a location in Article 9, Section 17:930, food vehicles. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 24th, 2023.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. Seeing none in the gallery and none virtually?
May I ask a question? Oh, sorry.
None virtually? May I have a motion to close public hearings on this ordinance?
Second.
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law?
Moved.
Second.
Ask a question.
Sure.
Just want to ask a question for clarification on this ordinance. With the change, this question for our BA. I'm sorry. With this change, at what point will the food truck on 3rd Street be notified?
So the ordinance goes into effect 20 days after the second reading, which is tonight, which would be May 1st. And so the vendor would be notified after it passes the second reading. We would start notifying him. You have 19 days to find a new location, and would let him know again as it gets closer. And then if someone were to remain there, obviously then they would start to be violated.
Got it. And the other food truck designated spaces that we have, is there a charge for a food truck to be there?
I'm going to ask, there is a charge, and it's in the ordinance.
Okay, I wasn't on the council when that was passed, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head what the exact charge is. Do you know what the exact
There's
charge
an
is?
annual permit fee of $1,000 annually.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
Council President, I have a
Thank you.
follow-up question. I'm so sorry. B.A. Levinson, will this particular truck be relocated? Will he have an option where he could go from?
Yeah, the other
Clearly,
the
it's
other,
causing a problem where he is. So
right, but the other place in the ordinance remains open, so he could just drive over there.
And that annual fee is yearly? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. B.A. Levinson.
May I have a motion?
My pleasure.
May I have a roll call, please?
Council members Graham?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Hockaday?
Yes.
McKenna?
Yes.
Wyatt?
No.
Vice President Briggs Jones?
No.
Council President McCray?
Yes.
5 in favor, 2 opposed. Ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, please read MC 2023-08 by title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
MC 2023-08 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 16, Article 17, titled Parking Time Limits to prohibit the enforcement of metered parking after 6 p.m. with the exceptions of permanent parking spots. It's hereby certified that the notice of public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 24th, 2023.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. Seeing none in the gallery and none virtually, may I have a motion to close public comments on this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I have a clarification on this ordinance. And I don't know who the best person to answer it is. My understanding is this would be metered street and city parking lot are considered metered, correct? So after it takes effect, those areas will not have the enforcement after 6?
Yes, that is correct.
And is there, this procedural thing, is there a way to walk on an estoppel resolution to have it take effect immediately?
Sorry. I would caution against doing it in that manner. I think an estoppel resolution should be in writing, setting out the reasons why we're waiving the estoppel period. I understand your desire to do it right away. It's not illegal to do it that way. I just wouldn't recommend it because I think it's important that we have cases for
Stopping.
for waiving the estoppel period, right?
To my question, what would be the process to do a walk-on resolution for an estoppel?
It would have to be, there's nothing in writing, so it would have to be an oral motion. With the basis for doing so, any estoppel motion, any waiver of estoppel motion, right, the reasons why waiving that estoppel. We've never done it that way. I just would caution. It's very recommendation.
And what would be the upside is we don't have to have the labor for the enforcement after 6. The upside is we immediately start getting people to park down there for dinner, and because they're not going to have the issue after 6. What's the downside? Not writing tickets for another 20 days?
What I might recommend is that if it is the will of the council to do something like that, then we can follow up and memorialize it after the fact. But it's certainly possible, but obviously that's a possibility.
But that's a resolution, and we're doing the ordinances on second reading, so that resolution would be made after the consent agenda?
So you could do that.
Oh.
If you want to.
Thank you.
Have a vote.
Need a motion and a second on that?
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance in a second?
So moved.
Seconded.
May I have a roll call, please?
Council members Graham.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Hockaday.
Yes.
McKenna.
Yes.
Wyatt.
C.
Vice President Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Council President McCray.
Yes.
This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
We now come to public comments. Limited to resolutions, motions, and ordinance to be introduced on first reading. A total of 30 minutes has been allocated for public comments limited to resolutions and ordinance being considered this evening. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes. If any member of the public would like to call in for public comments, please dial 646-558-8656. Enter the meeting ID 938-3643-9534. Dial *9 to raise and lower your hand. The floor is now open.
I'll be quick. Nancy Peamore, 1129 Myrtle Avenue. R139-23. It always, whenever I see the Civil Rights Act of 1964, another history lesson, Plainfield resident wrote that Civil Rights Act of 1964. Brooke Marshall used to live on Prospect Avenue. Thank you.
Seeing none in the gallery and none virtually, public comments are now closed. Mr. Clerk, would you please announce the consent agenda?
The consent agenda for this evening is identified as resolutions 134 through 23, 134-23 through 146-23, 148-23 through R163-23, and 166-23 through 177-23. So that's all the items with the exception of 147, 164, and 165.
May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Question. Okay. What is it? MC, at the bottom here, 2023-12, the sewer connection. The question was, what is the current fee?
$100.
That's $100 is the last time that we had it in an ordinance, but I believe it's $1,500 right now.
Current fee is $25.27. $25.27 is the current fee.
Okay, and we are collecting that currently, so each unit, for instance, the Quinn, for each unit, they paid the connection fee?
Yes, and well, it's for new construction, things like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so can we receive a report of that, please?
Yeah, do we have it on the records? Yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Mr. Clerk, can you read the
Resolution 147-23 is a resolution awarding a contract to Lurch, Vinci, and Bliss.
Motion.
May I have a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed. Any abstentions? Mr. Clerk?
Yes, it was 6 in favor, 1 opposed. Councilman McKenna opposing. Resolution 164-23, designating Garfield Avenue Urban Renewal LLC as redeveloper.
May I have a motion?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
5 in favor, 2 opposed. Councilman McKenna and Councilman Wyatt in the opposition.
Opposed.
And, it's 3 opposed. Vice President. You do a roll call, please.
Council members Graham?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Hockaday?
Yes.
McKenna?
No.
Wyatt?
No.
Vice President Briggs Jones?
No.
Council President McCray?
Yes.
4 in favor, 3 opposed, resolution passes. And Resolution 165-23 is a resolution authorizing a First Amendment to redevelopment and land disposition agreement with MPL 10 Holdings in connection with the redevelopment of Block 704, Lot 2.
May I have a motion?
Motion.
May I have a second? Can I get a second? Motion.
Motion fails.
Motion dies.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Council members Graham?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Hockaday?
Yes.
McKenna?
No.
Wyatt?
No.
Vice President Briggs Jones?
No.
Council President McCray?
Yes.
4 in favor, 3 opposed, resolution passes.
Introduction of ordinance on first reading.
I'm going to make a motion for a resolution for estoppel on, an estoppel resolution for MC 2023-08 to skip the waiting period of 20 days. The reason being to alleviate the need for the city to have the costs of enforcement after 6 o'clock and to quickly encourage individuals now that the sun is out later and it's getting warmer to spend time downtown having dinner and not wait until May 1st for that to start.
Before you entertain that motion, I think the administration wanted to be heard on this issue.
Council President, one thing I wanted to bring up is that if we were to waive the estoppel period, we wouldn't have time to take the signs down, so the signage would remain. We could stop enforcing, but we would need time to
Just
take the
a point of
signs
order, I have
down.
a motion on the floor, so
She was just clever.
I have a motion on the floor.
Question. Go ahead.
No, I have a motion on the floor. So that,
Second, you need a second, then we go into question.
Now the question.
Not so much a question, just a comment that the signage won't be down tomorrow.
I'll come and help.
Do I have a, it was moved and seconded to place this on the agenda?
I think that's fair.
Can I have a roll call, please?
This will be identified as Resolution 178-23, is waiving the estoppel period. Council members Graham?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Hockaday?
Yes.
McKenna?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Vice President Briggs Jones?
Yes.
Council President McCray?
Yes.
Council President,
Now, may I have a
motion to
motion?
approve R 178-23.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call? Well, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any objections? We now come to the ordinance on first reading. Mr. Clerk, will you please read MC 2023-09 by title?
MC 2023-09 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield authorizing vacation of the right-of-way known as Fairchild Alley.
I will now entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Council members Graham?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Hockaday?
Yes.
McKenna?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Vice President Briggs Jones?
Yes.
Council President McCray?
Yes.
It's been introduced on first reading.
Mr. Clerk, will you please read MC 2023-10 by title?
MC 2023-10, an ordinance of the City of Plainfield, County of Union, New Jersey, adopting the West End Industrial Corridor Redevelopment Plan dated February 16th, 2023.
May I will now entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
Council President, I have a comment.
Right.
Looking through the redevelopment plan, I like the majority of it, but I can't, in good conscience, vote for it when in the two sub-districts, they're termed as districts, the neighborhood development district, the density is too high, and the parking at 1 per unit is too low. It's not even based on 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom studio. It's just 1 per unit is way too low. It's just going to push parking into the street. And the Gateway District, again, the density is too high, and the parking is one per unit. We're looking at standards now that are roughly 8.7 dwellings per unit or per acre. That's the standard now over there, and we're going to go anywhere from 60 to 75 dwelling units per acre. That's a big increase. And as much as I agree with the South 2nd Street development criteria along the railroad tracks, and I think that the 4th Ward would benefit from it and deserves it, I think they deserve to have the density in the sub-districts within that redevelopment plan increase to that extent.
May I have entertain the motion to adopt this on first reading?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Question.
May I have a roll call, please?
So I don't know about everybody else, my colleagues, but I received the documentation at 12:40 today. So did everybody else receive this when you first received your agenda?
No.
Received it today. So I didn't have the time to thoroughly read through 58 pages and come prepared today. So I'm going to abstain.
It's been moved and properly seconded. May I have a roll call?
Council members Graham.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Hockaday.
Yes.
McKenna.
No.
Wyatt.
Abstain.
Vice President Briggs Jones.
No.
Council President McCray.
Yes.
4 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention. Ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
Mr. Clerk, will you please read MC 2023-11 by title?
MC 2023-11 is an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and establish a cap bank in accordance with NJSA 48:4514.
I will now entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
Council President,
Is there a
comment?
second?
Second.
Just point of clarification, B.A. Levinson or Corporation Council, the cap bank, in essence, will allow this. So the city is required to have no more than a 2% increase by law, with some exceptions, caveats. And one is if they were under the 2% cap in prior years, they can borrow from that cap, that percentage, and use it in up to 3 years. They have 3 years to utilize that. So as an example, just so I have it straight in my head, if there was no increase last year and we were allowed a 2% increase by law, and this year we want to raise 4%, we borrow the 2% we didn't use last year and add it to this year's 2%, and that's part of the cap bank.
Yes, that's
Reader's
correct.
Digest.
Absolutely. I don't think in my tenure with the city that we ever actually utilized the cap bank. However, it is generally recommended by finance directors and CFOs as a fiscal measure to ensure that in the event that it's necessary, whatever an emergency situation, you have the ability to do so. Absent this ordinance, you would not be able to go over
Exceed
that
the 2.
2%.
Thank you.
Question. So point of clarity. So you just said 3 years, right? Is the one cut?
Correct.
So for
The cap bank, the percentage is actually 2.5, and the cap bank is for 2 years.
For 2 years, not 3.
Municipalities usually do an ordinance like this annually to allow you to increase
In
to
case you need it.
3.5 if you need it.
Okay, so just for an analogy, so if you didn't increase the taxes year one, second year you didn't do it, you now have the ability to go back and say, you know what, I want to increase this year's back taxes. What we said, 2.5?
Annually, it's 2.5.
So 2.5. So
But you're
it'll be
allowed
fine.
to go up to, authorization, you're allowed to go to 3.5.
3.5.
But the cap bank is still there for 2 years.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
May I have a roll call, please?
Council members Graham?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Hockaday?
Yes.
McKenna?
No.
Wyatt?
No.
Vice President Briggs Jones?
Abstain.
Council President McCray?
Yes.
4 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention. Ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
We now come to the ordinance of first reading. Mr. Clerk, will you please read MC 2023-12 by title?
MC 2023-12 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield in the County of Union, State of New Jersey, amending the following Chapter 12, Article 1, Section 6, Sewer Connection Application Permit Fee, and Chapter 2, Article 10, Section 6C, Fee Schedule, to update sewer connection fees.
I will now entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Council members Graham?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Hockaday?
Yes.
McKenna?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Vice President Briggs Jones?
Yes.
Council President McCray?
Yes.
That is unanimous. The ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
Mr. Clerk, will you please read MC 2023-13 by title?
MC 2023-13 is a capital ordinance providing for the acquisition of vehicles and related equipment for the Department of Public Works through the Solid Waste and Sewer Utility by and in the City of Plainfield and the County of Union, State of New Jersey, and appropriating $3 million from the reserve for future capital improvement funds of the Solid Waste and Sewer Utility to pay for the cost thereof.
I will now entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Council members Graham?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Hockaday?
Yes.
McKenna?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Vice President Briggs Jones?
Yes.
Council President McCray?
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been introduced on first reading.
General comments. A total of 60 minutes has been allocated for all public comments to be presented. Each speaker will be allowed, is this still 5 or 3 minutes now? 3 minutes.
Council President, before we do that, I don't know if you're obviously your choice. There were 2 open items, discussion items from the regular session. Do we want to do those now or at the end of the public?
I do that into the public comments so that we don't eat into their time.
End of public?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
If any member of the public would like to call in for the public comments, please dial 646-558-8656. Enter the meeting ID 938-3643. 9534, dial *9 to raise and lower your hand. The floor is now open.
Council President, while she's walking up, is it 8658 or 8656? Someone just texted me.
8658.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, again, Carmen Cedar Powell, 1414 Highland Avenue, Plainfield, New Jersey. I want to go back to the February council meeting when the Plainfield Rescue Squad was discussed. Mr. Earl Virgo, Mrs. Sarah Virgo, and their son Jack Virgo commented on the lack of ambulance services within the city of Plainfield, and they spoke negatively to the administration regarding their inability to get an ambulance when Mrs. Virgo said she was having a heart attack. I am certain this is a scary moment. I viewed this meeting virtually, and unfortunately or fortunately, I wasn't able to speak at the meeting. Even though the family read their comments from their cell phones, there were 3 different recollections of that evening. Because I only have 3 minutes, I'm not going to go through the discrepancies. I will, however, say, be a moment. What happened here? Da-da-da. Okay. I will, however, say that to the city of Plainfield residents, the Muhlenberg Emergency Satellite Center, located right where the Muhlenberg Hospital was located on Randolph and Park, it works. I too thought at one time that I was having a heart attack, and I don't live too far, and I'm a mile away, and I walk there. My youngest one had seizures, and they said it was due to COVID. I drove her there from school to the Muhlenberg Center, and it works. So there's no reason to go all the way over to JFK Hospital. And now I will mention how Sean and Richard didn't care about the fact that the rescue squad had financial issues. Sean called it something like just a little shoddy bookkeeping, and Richard didn't care about the shoddy bookkeeping. He just wanted the mayor to give them the ambulance. And then Sean said how the mayor's city can be sued because the mayor mentioned some illegal activity going on with the rescue squad funds. Well, my thoughts were, why wasn't the rescue squad here at the meeting to defend themselves? While watching the council meeting, I quickly Googled the Plainfield Rescue Squad and found their financial reports. And I went over their website and located their board members. Did you know that one of the board members, which is a friend of Sean and Richard, was sitting right here in the audience? And they could have easily defended themselves, but they didn't. So, thank you.
May God bless you.
Nancy Peeble, 1129 Myrtle Avenue. This, I just have a question, or maybe it's just my phone or something, but there is an area in town that I drive through consistently, and it seems that phone calls get dropped on the car phone. I'm not distracted driving, okay? But it does. But my concern is where this area is, and I'm not sure if the police department is aware of it, and maybe they are aware of it. It's an area of town that it consistently happens, and it's near 2 schools. And I went to one of those schools years ago, years and years and years ago. And it would be concerning to me, especially after what's happening in schools, if there's an incident, and knock on wood, not wishing it on anybody, but if nobody could get through, maybe it's my phone, but I don't know if anybody tracks the areas where there's drop calls, but it is a concern, and I can describe where it happens. It happens anywhere from 7th Street on Grant Avenue to Stell Avenue, all the way over to Stell Avenue, almost to Field, and it's a blocked area, and it happens if I'm talking to somebody on a landline, or if they're trying to call me, and it happens consistently, and I just was concerned, and if the city's not aware of it, maybe there's a way that they can test the field and see if there's an issue there. Thank you.
Public comments for the gallery is now closed. Can we now go to virtual?
Hi, Mary Burley, 1785 Howard. I'm calling you because I think that the council president, I'm sure it was a mistake, said 8658 to call in, and it's 8656. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, regarding the budget, last year, the cap bank ordinance was done in March, and the budget was presented in April. And now we're in April, and when is the budget going to be presented? And this is a really serious thing for us people who pay a lot of money for taxes in Plainfield, and it seems like it's being delayed for reasons that I don't understand. This year, I looked at a bunch of other communities in Union County, and it appears as though other people have gotten their budgets done. And that doesn't mean we do, because we have different issues. But anyway, I want to make sure that the budget issue is going to be dealt with at some point, and that the right dialing number is going to be read out for people dialing in. Thank you so much.
Seeing no more in the virtual, public comments are now closed.
Council President, I have unless anybody wants to answer any of the questions that were raised.
We'll go through your questions and I'll have them.
Okay. I would like to just respond to Ms. Pyle's adjusted. Yeah, I can actually do that. There's no back and forth, so it's just not asking for back and forth. I would like to just respond to the comments, the initial comments, talking about how the administration was so quick to get this resolved in 2 months. The rescue squad closed in October, and I know that because it was at fire prevention fair at the library, at Library Park, when they came up and told me they were closed. And they had just announced it to the city, I believe, the day before or 2 days before. So, and there was actually emails from the city to the council members back then too. So for anybody shaking their head, no, we've got that. Which is fine. It is what it is. That has nothing to do with anybody. The other thing is, any comments regarding shoddy bookkeeping, I don't know, because they did have shoddy bookkeeping, and that has no bearing on anything other than the rescue squad had shoddy bookkeeping. I will also point out that having said anything, the administration having said anything about illegalities is problematic, because if you're going to say that publicly, you should have proof about it. And I will also go on to point out that the individual in the room that is a friend of people on the council who is on the board hasn't been on the board for a long time. So websites are websites. If you don't believe everything you see on the internet, that individual resigned a long time ago, back when many of us were working to find volunteers to help write grants and do other things to try to get the rescue squad back up on their feet. They were not successful in the organization because it was poorly managed. Let's be honest with it. It is what it is. But the reality is now the citizens are going to be on the hook for, could be close to $1 million a year in expenses that we weren't covering before, because we had a rescue squad that billed for the services. And it was a nonprofit, by the way. They're a nonprofit corporation. They're not part of the city. So I just want to point that out. And then I also, unless anybody else has comments, we have the two. You want me to do the housekeeping thing? I'd like to get back to the leaf pickup violations for people on numerous streets in the second ward. How do we want to handle that?
Council, can you just forward me the streets that you're referring to so I can address that with staff?
And the last one is Corporation Council in January. You had apologized for the oversight in the ordinance that I submitted back in, I believe it was June, July, for the circular, the change in the circular drop-off.
That's not true.
Yeah, you did.
I never apologized.
Oh, you didn't apologize for not reviewing it? But you did say you would take a look at it. I don't send it to you. I sent it to the clerk and to the council president at that time 4 times.
So how could you ask me, why would I apologize for something that I didn't receive?
Well, you actually apologized for not receiving it, and then you said you had First Amendment issues with it, which is odd, because if you hadn't seen it, I don't know how you...
We can't. Let's be accurate. What I said to you is that there are many First Amendment issues with regard to circular regulations and ordinances. That's what I said. I think what I said politely was, I'm sorry I didn't review it, and then I reviewed the matter, but I never received it at all.
Well,
so I was being polite to you.
You said you were going to review it.
I still don't have it.
Well, it's not my responsibility to send it to you. That comes through the clerk's office.
I disagree. I am the attorney to the council. If you'd like something reviewed, you have the ability to send it to me directly.
You got it. I will send that to you. And I'll send you the other ordinance on having the city-used vehicles that are supposed to be approved by the council. I'll resend that to you with the adjustments per your prior letter to me about how it should be written. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you please address the budget issue?
Yes, happy to address that. So I understand and appreciate the concern from the resident who expressed that this is obviously an important topic to her. This year, we have quite a few extenuating circumstances that make the budget introduction not happening this month. Three of them that I'm going to go over. One of them is that, like I mentioned earlier, the governor has put in his budget municipal relief for the state health benefits plan increase. We are facing a $3 million increase to our budget, which is a big percentage. If the governor is going to be providing relief, that's something that we want to know and have clarified before we come to you with a budget that has a $3 million increase in the state health benefits plan. So that's one factor. The other factor is, as you may know, we have 5 units of our 7 unions that have not settled their contracts. I am currently in interest arbitration with one of the biggest of those units, and interest arbitration is a quick process. I will have an understanding very soon from an arbitrator as to where that is going to shake out. Once I have an idea from an arbitrator about where that's going to shake out, I'm going to have a better sense of where we're going for all of the units, and then I'll be able to better predict what we need to budget for. The third factor is that our CFO has resigned, and so actually effective today. So that obviously throws another wrench into things. But the first two are really important factors that are big numbers that would impact our budget, and until I have some sort of clarity around them, I really can't, in good faith, present to you a budget that I think is accurate.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Council President, quick question on CFO. Do we have an acting CFO? Because I believe the last resolution for an I don't know if we call him acting or.
We still have the temporary resolution for Ricky Gartz to serve as our CFO. We have a temporary CFO resolution for Ricky Gartz not to exceed $27,000, and that $27,000 has not yet been spent. I am working on a shared service agreement with Ocean Township that I hope to have, that they're going to be putting forth in front of their council, and then we will come back to you next month and hopefully have something solidified. In the meantime, he can continue to act in a temporary basis because we have that authority from previous meeting.
Mr. President, quick question. So, talking about the budget, and you said one of the items were the unions. You're in arbitration now. So this is the contract from last year?
2022 to 26.
2022 to 26. So is there any reason why we haven't settled any of these contracts as of yet?
Nobody took the deal. Those 5 didn't take the deal.
So not one union. Did we?
Two unions took the deal.
Okay.
Yes.
And we continued the conversation and was able.
We haven't been able to get anywhere, so we filed for interest arbitration maybe 2 months ago against one of the biggest units.
Okay, and when you at the table talking to the unions, do you bring up the health insurance as well?
Absolutely. In fact, a couple of them wouldn't even negotiate with us until because they were waiting for the governor to make a decision about if he was going to give municipal relief in 2022. So some of them didn't even want to come to the table until 23, thinking that the governor would provide the relief in 22.
Okay, and last question. When do we expect to have the budget?
Well, like I said before, interest arbitration is a quick process. I'm looking to have that, we've already started it. I'm looking to have that completed as soon as possible. And the governor's budget, I know, has already been introduced. So I'm hopeful that once we have a CFO in a more permanent on board situation, that we will be coming forward to you. I don't want to give a specific date because I don't want to be then held to that if something happens.
So it could be from now, and it could be July.
I'm pretty sure it won't be that long, but I'm hopeful that it'll be significantly sooner than that.
What does the budget law, what does the law say about submission of the budget? Is there a deadline within the?
Another question.
Sorry, Mr. Wise.
No, that was it. And the last one, do we have to go apply for an extension?
No, not right now.
Okay, that's it.
Is there a legal requirement to?
We're still okay.
By the local budget law, but I was not able to find a local budget law.
We're still okay, and if you remember, we didn't actually pass the budget, even though we introduced the budget in April of last year, we didn't actually pass it until, I think it was June 29th, I think.
We had a special meeting.
Yeah, we had a special meeting June 29th or 30th.
No, I know, we always are in June, but we don't have a requirement when a budget should be submitted by law?
I believe we have to let DCA know.
Win for win.
I think we just let them know we're planning on, we haven't introduced yet, but we're not at that point yet. We're not late yet.
But I'm confused, what is the point? Like, we let DCA know we're late with the budget, and they say, oh, it's okay, there's really no deadline, or we say the XYZ deadline is...
It's not something that has to be done by resolution.
So there is, no, I'm asking if you have to submit something by law, by a certain date.
I don't believe so.
We don't, as we see here tonight, we don't have that.
We have no, so we could go, well, you can't go past your temporary appropriation, right?
Right.
You can only appropriate.
We're only appropriated until June.
Motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.